There's people in Vancouver water bills over 100,000
100,000?
plus, yeah.
And they pay it?
This is Point Grey Road houses, you know, that Point Grey bluff. Oh yeah. This
What are
is
they doing with all the water?
Oh, we can imagine, same thing, fountains, swimming pools,
Parties.
washing your Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
100,000?
I mean, these are flow-through systems, old waterfalls that don't get restricted.
Oh, they just go out.
House of storm.
I didn't know.
I wish we had that much
They probably
money.
don't even know.
Yeah, they probably, you're right, they have
I
someone,
mean, there's, yeah,
someone who pays their
it's a
bills for
management
them.
company and whatever.
Yeah.
The management company gets a percentage of what they spent, so.
That's right, so then cha-ching.
Yeah. Yeah, and people like that, they always say to you, please quit trying to save me money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's their
I don't
attitude.
really care about that.
Yeah, right. I mean, I am so sick of hearing accountants tell me how I can save $10,000.
So, before we jump into the items, Raj and Ron have to leave on the 9 ferry, so they're gonna try to get out here at 22. So I think what we'll do is we'll work through the adoption and approval of the agenda, and then I think we'll come back to Raj with the financial report, and if there's any questions, we can pull up the presentation again. We will not cover, unless anyone has any specific questions, we will not cover Bob's drinking water quality report again. I think we covered
Thank
that
you.
adequately tonight. If anyone has some concerns about that, let us know. So first order of business is approval of the agenda. Are there any late items? Sorry.
Yeah, I want to add one thing to it, and that is the water conservation measures, putting them in. The thing that, anyway.
Okay, we have that in our 6.2 water conservation
Oh,
plan
good.
and public information, so we can
Good.
look that together.
Good.
Any other late items?
No.
Okay, so I consider the agenda approved. We have minutes distributed from March 5th, 2018. Does anyone have any corrections or comments on those minutes? Okay, I'll consider them.
Can you vote on those at least, because we're finding these minutes are becoming historical documents in other committees, so can we get hands up to hear about those?
We bought those, okay, from your motion. Before we get to this, the item 3 elections, I'm gonna go to Raj in the financial side. So you want to pull up use the summary table, maybe on the 5 years?
Sure. So here's the 5-year operating expenditures.
So there's going to be several questions about what would we do if the Grafton Lake lands didn't move ahead and that contribution was not provided? So we have contingencies for that, basically.
We have a reserve with a balance of 963. We do also have another, it's not an operating reserve, but there is money going in for latecomer fees. Just essentially it is a reserve, it's just not reported here. It's got a nominal amount in it. We would combine that and use that as a source, and then we would have to take a look at where the remaining funds are going to come from if Grafton Lake doesn't materialize. Yeah, the subdivision. Essentially, we would have to borrow and probably apply, recover that from the users over time.
And then second question, what is this projected used reserve, 239,000 this year? What are we, is that geocheck and pieces like that? Capital support?
That was the pilot, wasn't it?
180,000.
Yeah, if you go back to your one there, the capital.
Yeah, it would be essentially
Most of the capital.
the capital part of the treatment plant construction. But, so there's a 29, the 15, and the 10. So we have got 35 plus 29, so about 65 plus another 200 for treatment, was a guess for the treatment plant. I don't think we would spend very much, so that's what's included in the projected use of reserves.
It might be nice in the future to break out the treatment plant because it's such a significant project for the community, and just, here's our contribution, here's the funding, here's and what we're spending on just the associated pieces like the pilot and geocheck and engineering design or whatever it is. I think it's nice to see it in one place.
Okay. Yeah, no, point taken. I think that's a good idea.
So we have the actual $3.9 million sitting somewhere or no?
Yeah, we've got it.
Oh, we do? They
Well,
sent us a
no,
check?
actually, we
No.
have,
Oh.
no, of the 3.9, the province, I think the feds gave us the money, so we've gotten 1/3,
Mhm.
and that's actually invested in our reserves.
So we're getting interest on the money,
Yeah,
so it's.
we're earning interest on that, and then the provincial portion, as we spend money, they release what we spend.
And with respect to your 5-year plan, the other one, the operating one, I don't see any interest on debt in that. So presumably at the end
Oh,
of the
actually,
day,
it's included in, so basically the other revenue line item includes
okay, that's
interest that
interest
we're not
income, but what
invested
about
Oh,
debt
it's-
servicing? Okay, that's, but presumably once you've built the thing, there's gonna be a big whack of debt. Like I'm hearing
Yeah.
we're about $1 million
So
and a
that's-
bit short.
So if we do incur debt, it's not included here. I mean, this financial plan was done in my first month here.
Okay.
So, and we hadn't anticipated on, or I hadn't heard we were anticipated on borrowing at that point in time. So if we do anticipate borrowing, yes, definitely that debt servicing in the 5-year financial
The
plan.
mechanism
would
is the
incorporate
municipality goes to MFA issues it at their then current rate.
it. Mhm.
And it's a 10-year, 20-year?
Up to 30 years, 50.
You know, you can just,
You
if you,
select.
if you've looked at this as saying, say we ended up 635,000 short, we've got 635 users, so that's $1,000 per user. So you could add, you could give people the option of a lump sum, give us $1,000 now and you don't pay interest. Or you can pay us $100 a year for 13 years, right? I mean, it's a flow through back to the client, right?
It's easy.
Yeah, and but it's not tons of money.
Yeah.
Right, that's the thing, is we're not going to people saying, you owe $18,000.
Yeah, it's not
don't
a
pay
sales
it."
project.
But we won't know until we finish the last check on the plan.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, you don't. But it's also, I mean, we're getting money in reserves for, yeah, but it's not,
I mean,
it's
on that
not
question,
undoable.
where do we see the escalation cost? Like, I'm not seeing it as in land value, in item cost, in, I mean, there's always uncertainties and things that cost more than you think and take longer than you think, but not millions more.
But
in this
and
case.
we over allowed them, right? We allowed for the more expensive plant, and then we chose the lower priced one. So, I mean, we're not gonna end up using probably the 3.9. They're gonna be drawn down to 3.7 or something. And you know what I mean?
It's gonna be 3.9.
You-
We'll be using it all.
Is that right?
That's
Oh, yeah.
It's
Point
on
of
that.
Ground truth, right here.
Sorry. It's the actual facts.
There's a nice truck.
Everything else is escalating the cost by one
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, it seems like even if that variable ended up being twice what we're talking about, there is capacity easy to cover that.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, even if you added $50 per bill
Yeah.
to cover the eventual cost, and you do it for 10
I
years.
mean, also
Yeah,
just a
like
comment on
local area parcel tax, and then, I mean, we'd still have to figure out where the shortfall, people, like if people decide not to commute and pay right up front, because you'll have a portion of people who will elect to pay right up front, so they don't have
Yes.
to pay interest over time. But then there'll be the people who decide they wanna pay for it over
Yeah.
whatever amortization period we decide on.
Yeah.
That's where we'll know what we have to borrow. And, I mean, depending on the amount we need to borrow, we may not have to borrow from the MFA. We may be able to borrow against other internal reserves if we structure it. I mean, that's something
Yeah.
we would have to run through council with.
That's right, because if you're earning lower rates of return than the interest from MFA, it's better to use your.
I mean,
You have to
I
take a
also
look at
think
your
it-
options. There's so many unknowns at this point in time.
That's
we
right.
Probably can't answer.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
One measure of sort of public sentiment was the questions we had tonight. I don't hear anyone sort of saying this is a bad decision, that more people
Yeah.
asked about their concerns around water quality, whether it's
Yep.
color or.
We're talking about cost.
No, people want, yeah, they say that.
They do.
Yeah.
People want it done,
Yeah.
and they're not, actually, nobody asked about price increases, really, about what they may be,
Yeah.
No.
so.
So just following that, there was questions around like how close are we to transferring the property over? And I didn't get a good sense of how close we are, like what are the steps that need to happen between now and then?
How much do you know about?
So I
So that's
heard,
jumping to our update on the water treatment plan implementation, but that's fine, I'm just saying we'll cover that now.
When's Daniel coming with the fourth reading or whatever? I thought he was gonna do it in September sometime.
Okay, I
Yeah.
can look for that.
If it's not, that's just the proclamation. After the third reading, of course, it's a done deal.
Yeah,
So that's simply a matter of proclaiming it. More to the point is, because they're working on the subdivision now, right?
so once, I guess, the fourth reading, and it's basically, he's starting the subdivision, I was told that he would likely sign an agreement. Two lawyers get together and go, here's your land, blah, 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 so we could start working on it.
Without it being an identified lot?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. And then getting the road in and getting the hydro in, is that, who builds the road?
I think he builds the road and we'll put the hydro in, or vice versa.
And then do the right of way afterwards or something.
Yeah, build the road and then,
Okay. But it won't have to be surveyed and all that sort of stuff and built? to-
he'll likely build it and then survey it. It makes the most sense,
So
rather
it's
than.
built, it's built to your specs? It's built to the
Yeah.
subdivision standards?
Yeah, it'll be a half, yeah, he has to
It'll
build
be-
it to a certain standard.
So,
It'll
yeah.
be a two-lane road that goes all the way in
Yeah.
past. And
Because he's got, I think,
Yeah.
4 or 5 houses he was talking about.
Yeah.
So you come in where that gate's all smashed up,
Yeah,
and you go in, you follow the lake along, or up from the lake, and then his, right at the bottom, where the kids all play, he veers off to the right, and we sort of go straight, and it's not, but you know what, sorry, the road is not, that's not the expensive part.
Oh, no, I'm just on the timing.
Oh, I was gonna take that home with me.
Thank you.
Okay.
and the hydro connection, have you begun the conversations with?
Oh, Dayton and Knight has talked to the usage, well, with Purifics, how much power they need. And,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they've done all that but Dayton and Knight now is just sort of sitting on their hands because they can't do any more.
Yeah, of course.
Conveniently, they're doing another treatment plant up north, the same thing.
Oh, good. So they're cutting their teeth.
Yeah, so
And-
it'll be built likely ahead of ours. I was in Ontario a couple of weeks ago and I called them to see if they were actually building their plant,
Yeah.
but they hadn't started it yet, because I want to go see it.
Where in Ontario?
London.
And when it comes to the power connection, are we looking at just a single line to this plant and it's not gonna be going anywhere else?
No, then there'll be a main feed down and then it'll likely be, transformer pad for us and then one for the houses.
Got you. Okay.
Because I think we need 3-phase power.
Three-phase. Really.
It's more efficient,
Yeah,
I think, yeah, more efficient. So if you have a 3-phase, 5 horsepower motor, it's this big.
yeah,
Single phase is this big.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
So my right in understanding is probably like 4 to 6 months for some of these issues to get worked out. I'm just hitting a ballpark and I'm not gonna hold you to it.
That's our hope.
I talked to Daniel and if he gets his, whatever happens in front of council, we talked to Walt and Walt said we get sort of everything set together and then an RFQ will be sent out likely in January for the building and the pipe work and stuff like that. He did suggest to me that Purifics now, I'm not sure what it is, they have a bonding, they can be bonded or something, so we can buy the actual little treatment plant ourselves. He said it'll save us a couple $100,000, rather than putting it in an RFQ, you buy it, you're gonna add 20%
That's
to
right,
it.
there's no point.
So,
We supply the kit to the winner.
yeah, and it'll come in a skid, it'll sit down, it'll get connected and,
And the install will be the other contractor.
yeah, so it'll be the building pipe work
Yep.
and then
That
the
makes
tank,
sense.
upper tanks.
What's the lead time for purchasing the equipment?
What was on holidays, I can't remember now. Killed too many brain cells. I think it was 5 or 6 months. So, once we have everything together, that's why I was bugging you, Raj, going, how much are you gonna let me spend? Because, that'll be $1 million right there, likely, just for the treatment plant.
That's right. Do we have a place to store it in between time?
Well, no, I would say the building's gonna be built at this time.
So we pre-purchase it?
Build the building and then bring it in.
And then if we run late, then we push off the delivery.
Can we jump back to,
Sorry.
in our update, so we're covering the water treatment plant, let's continue with that, but there was the external review.
Yeah.
And that was a council motion that's included as well. We.
I've got one, it's in draft form,
What it is,
the
report?
review.
Okay. And so who did it? You don't need to,
Oh, you can, Kerwood Lytle,
okay.
Irfan, I forget what his last name is. He built the treatment plant in Salt Spring. Oh, sorry.
Oh, is that the one in, what's the St. Mary Lake or whatever it's called? Different technology,
Yeah.
but very similar lake, a eutrophied urban lake. Not-
But he has a real problem with algae,
Real problem.
and he keeps referring to algae in this. So I talked to Walt, and Walt's response back is that behind this.
Gotcha, because we don't have the algae.
Sorry, Raj, didn't mean to leave you out.
This is the
So-
WSP response.
So this, he was happy?
He didn't understand some of the things. He said we should have sampled longer than the 3 months, but he didn't realize that we've done a 2-year sample.
They all the more data.
Yeah, so some of the stuff he's missed, and that's why I really don't, I call it a draft, because he wants to get together so I can explain some of this to him. But he's really keen on, every time he talks about something, it's the algae. And we never seen algae in our lake, in any of our tests.
No, so that's not
Now, if
relevant.
we did get algae, it would clog up the
We-
filters?
It would plug them up quicker,
Means it's-
so, but then we would, you would pre-treat it ahead of time then.
Yeah.
Like
We
you
don't-
would-
We also have a deeper intake, would be my understanding, than this, particularly the one on, like shallower lake in, Salt Spring.
Oh, is this St. Mary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's a
unfortunately,
big
Irfan-
Very eutrophied sort of agricultural rural lake.
Yeah, that's why they've got algae. Yeah, it's because of all the phosphates.
so you can take a look at it. There was nothing really that come out, and go, holy cow, I shouldn't be doing this.
Okay. Yeah, it seems fine.
Okay.
And then Walt has his response to each of the questions.
Yep.
So some of the, and one of the ones Irfan said was, how come you didn't do it in October or something like that with the big rains, but we did it until the rains.
That's
Because
right.
I remember the lake flowing and flowing, and I took pictures and go, oh, what do I do now? And it's like, and that actually after the lake filled up,
No, we
with the
picked-
pilot treatment plant.
We picked the right.
We picked
Yeah.
the right time. Yeah, her data's fine.
So he just got sort of, he was sort of,
Focused on.
So,
something
yeah,
else.
so I suggest we just table this and take it for information for now, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about it. What I would suggest though, if people have in their review, well, say, send them directly to Bob with CC to me. If you have specific questions you want addressed, then if Bob's talking to KWL about this.
yeah, they will be coming over, so.
Okay.
Can I just ask, CC the whole committee so that
Sure,
the
that's
answers
good.
go
Yeah,
directly?
exactly. We talked about the updated schedule, that's 6.1.2. 6.1.3 is procurement strategy for treatment plant parts, and I think this question arose with a concern that you buy a multi-million-dollar treatment facility, and then it costs you an arm and a leg to replace the filters particularly. So I think that was, my recollection, that was the question.
I think part of it was from me, and maybe that's part of it. The other thought was, if the company goes under for any reason,
Oh, yeah.
how do we ensure that we have extra parts on hand, because it is an innovative technology, so it's not like we just go down the line to the next company. It
Well,
is
it was,
patented,
it was
so
supplied from Europe. It's a Dutch system, right? The technology originally, there's a Canadian distributor who has exclusive rights for distribution here.
For the ceramic filter.
That's right. So if the Canadian company went under, we would buy them from the parent company who's manufacturing.
Well,
them.
are they the same
we
fitting?
need to make sure of that. I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
So we can ask Priya to fix that.
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
need to clarify that, but as far as I understand, that the microfiltration system is a European product and the Canadian distributor is the sole supplier. That's, we did talk about that.
Yeah.
And the fact is that the Europeans aren't gonna stop selling their product as long as while they're.
It's something to confirm, so
Yeah.
Bob will put that back to you.
And what is the life of the filter?
The one I went down to and seen in New Orleans or whatever, they had like 25 years, and it's dirtier water than we get.
Oh,
Oh, okay,
They got
so,
horrible,
they're not like
brackish water.
yeah,
Yeah.
so there's no point in buying a spare set, is what I was
Well,
getting
yeah,
at.
I think you can still break them, so you need.
Yeah, if you drop them, you'll break them.
Yeah, you can physically break them.
Yeah,
But I mean,
depends on the price of them, like.
Yeah,
Well,
whether
yeah,
they
do we
buy,
have the funds to purchase a
Yeah.
spare set?
that's right, if it's a 1% of the plant cost, it might be a smart spend in the beginning, just to have, but if it's 20%,
I just wanna flush out the risk a
Yeah.
little bit.
yeah, no,
that's right.
It's 20 to 9.
Yeah.
The clock.
and if we know how much, yeah, how much.
There, let's see where the ferry is.
Excuse myself.
Probably won't be late.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Raj.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, he's in.
Always fun.
Yeah,
See,
it's
he's
running,
ready.
it's running on time.
You better give her Raj, he's actually coming in. Okay,
Possible impact of smoke on water quality treatment. Virginia, you want to explain that a little bit more?
Oh, yeah, I read an article about some of the impacts of smoke on surface water quality treatment plants, and it just ended up being a lot more organics in the water, so we needed to have more chlorine dumped in, and I just wondered if you had noticed anything like that, or, I mean, for the amount of time we've had it, I don't know that that's really any
Not-
impact at all, but.
we haven't noticed anything, but I actually sent an email to the health officer. He never even replied back to me. So I don't know
Low
what,
priority going on.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably, I mean, think the risk of drinking it relative and all the filtration and compared to breathing it in for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Again, so-
not, it wasn't an issue of risk, it was more, I'm just wondering if
Oh, I
we're
see.
having to
What's the
purchase
impact?
more chemicals, if we needed to prepare for
Yeah.
that, are we considering that as we go forward, and we have tradition, like
Is it
wildfire
relevant? Is it relevant?
seasons, and,
Yeah.
yeah, just something to consider.
We could, I mean, not that it's easy to do, but I'm sure Metro Van of anyone, because of the sophistication of their
size,
treatment and the size of their plants, they might know because they have that full-on filtration system, but
Might be worth asking.
nothing was in the media.
People in, Fraser Lake or Burns Lake or Quesnel.
yeah, ask Cornell,
Where it
what the
was
hell they're,
black at 9:30 in the morning, it was like the
God,
middle
yeah.
of the night.
Yeah, that's the
I mean,
thing.
my God, can you imagine how
Well,
much
Fort
crap was
McMurray had to do, they had to treat way more,
so what did they have to treat? Just the particles in the water that sort of floated into the water?
Yeah, so therefore, there was more chlorine required to
Yeah.
keep the chlorine count up.
and more
by the-
coagulant and everything.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter with us.
It shouldn't.
It would just be that the filter would clog quickly.
And then do we get more?
I just.
I also compared to the gunk that's already in the water.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, look at that pile of material next to the
It'll be
pilot
fine,
bag.
Bob.
Yeah, comparatively speaking.
Okay, let's keep on track here. 6.2, water conservation planning and public information. So this was a request from me during the agenda development. What are we doing? We have now stage 1 to 4, and we have water restrictions. What else has happened in terms of the planning around water conservation?
Well, the point I wanted to make on this is that we want to sell water, right? We haven't had to pump any water this year at all. This is the first time we haven't pumped water in I don't know how many years, and we've got water conservation on. And
No,
we-
it's a recommendation, come on now.
Oh, come on now. We can't get enough turnover of water out of our tanks. We have to add more
But I
chlorine.
think, Murray, I think you also
People
have to
can-
think of the equity side of water, that, that people pay so much amount and their neighbor is using a far more. I mean, I think there's a challenge around that in terms of,
Well,
the
it's a-
sprinkler
the-
systems and things like that.
I get that. I mean, I have this conversation with my wife as my lawn goes brown and I'm watching water running
Yeah.
over the top of the dam. And people are saying, yeah, but the neighbors will think we're assholes, right? I mean,
The
that's,
mayor.
yeah, exactly. And I think, but we
You're not being
don't
realistic
have
from
a
there.
water shortage. But not only do we not have a water shortage, we have to add more chlorine because our tanks aren't turning over fast enough because people aren't using water at a time when you would expect the very highest usage of the year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a challenging message though, because it's the future, that's one thing, so conservation now.
Look
is
at
the
it
foundation.
TV, everybody talks about it.
I know,
conserve
but-
water.
It will,
But we haven't.
and it's also, we're on an island where some of these systems don't have water like Cove Bay, so
no.
that's another challenge as well, so.
But the number, when we get into a real situation, is anybody going to believe us? Right? I mean, here we are pretending.
But I think
We have
that's the point, is
situations.
that you get people practicing, you get cisterns in place and things like that.
I
and that-
remember
Change the message then.
Norma Della saying to me, we're just training people how to do it. I mean, this has been the same story on water treatment for decades. Our water distribution, you know, we're the water board and it's the summertime and everybody's gonna have to use less water. But we don't actually have a shortage this year. No, but we do it every year.
Yeah,
And-
Metro does too, right?
I mean, yeah, but why?
I think it's a cultural kind of message at this point, and I mean, I think that it's, you know, you can send out the recommendation, but perhaps it should be coupled with, we have ample water, but because we believe in being conservative with our water.
Yeah, you could say that.
And, you know, just to, you know, have
Yeah.
that, like, both messages.
Yeah, it's
going
probably
out,
true
you know.
to be more transparent that we
Yeah.
aren't at risk right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, exactly. And-
Because
and-
there is that understanding out there, there's a message out there, people think we don't have very much water, how many users are on the system? Oh my
Yeah.
God, another development, oh my
Yeah.
God, what are you guys doing, you're
Yeah.
Exactly.
mismanaging it, right? So we need to start delivering that message so that people understand it, but just because we have it doesn't mean we're wasting it.
And, but the,
People
so
appreciate
the,
it.
but I think what the message is, excuse the pun, the water is highly fluid. Somebody can use 800 gallons a day if they have a half-acre lot and it's lawn and they water it every night, right? If too many people do that, we're going to have a real problem,
Right.
right? However, this doesn't mean that everybody who's using 190 gallons a day should go down to 140 and then bitch because, you know, the kids can't play in the sprinkler, we can't wash the car, etc. You know, all that kind of crap, right? And
We got an email about
it's-
that.
we should have a more
Kids
nuanced,
couldn't play in the sprinkler.
but we should have a more nuanced message rather than just, well, everybody says you should conserve in the summer,
Yeah,
so
and
we're
I-
saying it too.
And I also think we need to do a better job of telling people why Bowen is different than Metro Vancouver in terms of snow melt fed reservoirs, high demand, other, you know, just a different system altogether. We're not bound by GVS and DD water restrictions.
Well, and it's not like the Cove Bay in particular, because it's even different as
Different
you
than
go
others.
to
Well,
Eagle
that's a good
Cliff,
point,
right?
like,
So
just
it's
to
like
explain it across the
geographically.
island as well, so.
And so we have Bob and his people like the idea. We just say one thing to everybody, and then it's easy.
Yeah.
If we say different things to different people, I get too many phone calls.
It's like the fire sign coming
Right.
off the ferry.
Yeah.
Extreme risk.
But it is kind of just the thing of it, it is a great inconvenience for staff to have 7 different times of 7 different areas when you go into water restrictions. Well, you're on the 15th of July, but it looks like you don't have to go until the 10th of August. That sort of stuff. And I don't mind when we have a year when it's a fairly bad year, you know, a very hot, dry year. It just hasn't been that bad this year. Right,
Yeah.
Bob? I mean, have we got any problems with any systems?
Oh, yeah.
Were there shortage?
Well, yeah, there's been a couple systems that
That what?
should
How-
have conserved a little more water than they should. So the wells are running constantly, never stopped yet. And, you know, that's not good for a well.
Okay.
That's
you've
not good
got
for the
pieces
aquifer.
Where the wells are.
There's
going.
like
Okay,
no
I think,
operational
I think we move on.
You get my
I mean, I think, when taken, I do think you're probably in the minority, Murray, but
Oh,
I think
heck
there's
yeah.
a more nuanced view of trying to be, you know, as clear and factual with people as possible, that we aren't under the same restrictions, we are running out of water, but, you know, these measures are for the long term, perhaps, is maybe the
But-
message.
Yeah, but when we get to the point where we have to rechlorinate the water in the tanks because they haven't moved enough
Yeah.
in the middle of the summer when they do in the middle of the winter, then I think that we've overdone it. And we have people that are so good at complying with the request, right? We have too responsible a community, and we're setting guidelines for communities who aren't very responsible in a community that is very responsible,
Yeah.
right? And so we get this tremendous overkill here.
Okay, point taken. 6.3 was the revisions to the water billing structure. So this was something that was discussed at staff level a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and then was not moved forward. And I wondered if there's any, I mean, we don't have Raj here to talk about the financial side, so we can defer it.
He just hasn't had a chance.
Yeah.
He's gonna take a look at all the water systems billing after this process before the next year's budgeting process.
Okay. we can ask him for updates, so that's fine.
Who's here?
Is that him cleaning up? Might be him just.
Who's gonna miss the vote?
I don't think he heard you when he shut the door.
Yeah.
Someone's watching our ditches. Let's
See
not
who's
complain.
taking the silverware.
Who's the ghost?
Let him do it. It's less to clean.
Wish that would happen in my house.
Yes, it does happen, it's just me.
Right, so 7-1 and 7-2 are done.
Yeah, 7172 616 we've done, you have no public comments, we have no public members, we've done that adequately.
Oh,
Well, that makes sense.
So we have, action items from last time and elections. So we'll do elections first, and I don't know what the procedures are for elections.
somebody has to, oh,
If Russell's not here, then he can take on everything.
that's usually the way it goes.
That's
Do we
right. Russell, you are
we
the chair.
open up for
So,
nominations
yeah.
then?
You need a four.
We have four, right?
Do it.
Yeah.
5 or 7 on this one?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have 3.
Okay. So you have quorum?
I would like to nominate Dave to be the next chair.
I don't have time, unfortunately. I can't.
Oh.
Oh, you've been doing a wonderful
What
job.
the heck have you been doing? If I take that job right back
He
at
wants
you.
to pass
Oh, I
it
just
on.
want to continue?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
He just
What is
wants
it
us
by
to
year,
pay.
is it yearly?
Yeah.
It's,
I think it goes to December, and then you're gonna have to
Yeah,
start
it's-
all over again.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the
10-yearly.
first, yeah, it's yearly.
it's 10 years.
Calendar year.
Calendar year, but we didn't do one in March, and so we're doing it now, and we'll do it again in
It's only gonna last till
So it's
December.
Basically
Yeah.
a quarter.
Rory's gonna be out of his job, though, he might want to back.
No, no.
You know,
I'm gonna come in as one of those angry
Yeah.
contrarian people.
Yeah, great.
Okay, well, unless Georgina, I should say, are you of any interest in being chair?
I feel like that's a time commitment I can't commit to at this point. I do feel like it comes with a bit more, you know, what is all
Okay.
this
This time, you never talk to me for like half an hour.
That's the thing.
Not
That's
the worst
bigger.
thing in the world.
But that's what we're talking about.
I also feel
Okay,
with your
I will-
background.
All in favor of
I
Nick?
will continue for a year.
Thank you.
There you go, he's elected.
And Russell's the vice chair.
Unanimously.
Yeah.
We're all in favor.
Well, I
All
need
in
a-
favor of
I
Russell
need a
being vice chair?
so there's.
Oh, I don't think you dare do that.
Jay will be vice chair, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, you can't get out.
go on.
All in favor, yeah?
All in favor, yes. To go back to the action items then, I think this is probably our, it's page 8 of the package I have. These are action items from March 5th. And I'll just run through them. Send the solids characterization report to committee members. Well, was that done?
Yeah, I think it
I
was.
Hey, you
I
remember
like
I
we
said
did
that
it
was
right
a
after.
sludge sample?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I did it.
I think you did.
I usually do it, as soon as something like that, I do it right away.
Data from the creeks in the sampling study, and with a map to cross-reference locations.
Okay,
Looking at page 8.
it's all,
I know that data's there, and the previous data, it'd be nice to get a map, I think, even if it's,
oh, okay.
don't spend too long on it, even a hand
No,
sketch
I-
kind of something.
yeah.
It's just they refer to like creek 1, creek 2, creek 3.
Okay.
That's
I thought I
not
drew one
that
out.
helpful. You think they were talking to the public as well, so.
That doesn't count.
No, I
I
thought
thought
I
I
drew
drew
it.
it confusing. Whose house is that?
That's Bone Bay. Well, 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, action 4, invite Opus to the next meeting.
It's
And that was
today.
a technical
I didn't have
one,
it.
so we did not.
We have to pay them to come?
Yep.
I did, yeah,
So I don't understand
I
what
don't
I'm
think
doing here
it's
for, is
necessary.
there,
just
how,
check.
they're done? These are done?
The map is not,
Okay.
the
so
first
that's
2
all.
I'll send you out a map tomorrow.
4 is not,
Okay,
but I think there's a rationale for that.
so we're gonna, 4 is gonna happen for the next meeting then, or
Um,
staying it?
As required, say, in the future, I wouldn't say we need it for the next meeting unless,
No.
we're not gonna pay them to come over unless we have a real technical
I
question
agree.
for them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
And
gonna
we
cross that
can
one.
keep our powder dry for that, I think.
Mhm.
Send relevant reports from Opus to community members regarding this next meeting date. This was a reading question.
You want them for Opus? Well,
From Opus, or is it the review of?
I think if you're getting reports, just to send them to the committee instead of
Okay.
waiting for a.
I was gonna give you this one, but it's still in a draft, so I didn't wanna send it out, but.
I get it.
I think a draft is fine.
Is
I'm
it?
fine getting drafts, because then we can all provide comments and then
Okay.
it contributes.
Yeah,
For drafts.
give us the stuff that you get
Yeah.
related to this.
I think Walt sent me this yesterday,
Okay.
Okay.
September 4th.
Action 6 was a report back to committee regarding procurement procedure, so that was sort of RFP, RFQ. I don't think I mean, that's probably a bigger municipal-wide topic, I would assume, with procurement. And the possible rate changes, I think that's their two pieces, and the rate changes, we've just said he hasn't undertaken that yet, so that's for a future update. Ensure that Cove Bay water system communications are included in water bills.
So that they
Basically, take advantage of a mail out.
enhance all
If
of
there's
that.
information, whether it's systems, whether
I'm
it's.
sorry,
treatment
I know nothing about the mailouts or the bills.
I don't think we were directing specific information, just that it's an opportunity to reach all people.
What did,
So
I know
Annette,
she said-
before these meetings, Annette reached out to me to make sure that she was getting all the information for these meetings into the bills, not for Copay, but other ones. So she's definitely flagged that
yeah,
when she's doing bills, and works with Sophie on that, but I can follow up to make sure that.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the water treatment, I still think the water treatment plant it's the biggest infrastructure project ever undertaken on Bowen. It would
Yeah, we
do-
should give
it's
an
due, it's-
FAQ.
Yeah, exactly, whether it's the
short-
scheduling, whether it's the financial piece,
Yeah.
a one pager would be nice.
One-page FAQ is really important engagement at this stage with the people who are on the system.
Yeah.
So probably the biggest question that people are gonna wanna know is when. And so
you see, I don't, but I don't wanna talk about it because it's sort of, it's a chicken and egg and you can't really say,
Just like 6
Oh.
to 12 months is what it's looking
Well,
like.
I wouldn't do it,
About
I wouldn't do an
the land.
update until you get a
Yeah.
better idea.
I think,
of-
I think if,
we
the end of
should-
September,
Yeah.
if something happens and then we get
There's
we
a
get a
good-
document going, here's the land, then we can start planning.
Good.
So when's the next water bill then?
September.
It's supposed to be going out this week.
Okay, so we have this
One
page.
after that.
There's an actual web page that has the frequently asked questions
Yeah.
here. So is that, you
I
want
made
that
that a
sent to
long
me?
time ago.
Yeah, I think it's really old.
Oh, it's too old?
Really old.
Should probably be checked.
Like, isn't
Who
it
does
for
the
the
like-
DAF system?
No, I
don't-
Questions or,
I don't know,
I think it's.
can't remember.
What are some of the questions?
I mean, I really don't think, given the gap we've had between sort of communicating, it's that urgent, let's get it right, but just take
Yeah.
an opportunity for the next mail out to, if we're at the stage of communicating on schedule and budget.
Yeah, this mail out will not be good.
No,
No,
we don't
no,
have
no.
time.
Annette that sends out the bills is waiting to
Alright.
get her appendix cut out. She's in the hospital now, so she might not make it tomorrow.
What's
Well,
that?
not to work, not,
Okay.
not.
I was gonna say that's fire. It's like, jeez.
An appendix.
Usually that
Is there-
doesn't mean not make it,
Oh,
make
no,
it.
that is, no, it's not.
That's just a
She's not gonna make it to do the bills, how's
Okay,
that?
just doing a home treatment.
The,
No, that's fine.
Well, do you think this is, I mean, we could print this off and just throw it into the bills even if it's old.
Well, no, is it the right, is it,
Why was
Pure
ceramic
ethics?
filter selected?
oh,
What are the benefits of ceramics? What
I
water
really
quality can I
feel like
expect?
The most salient question will be
When was this likely to
and if
happen?
that's missing
Let's-
from all of those.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's not rush,
Okay.
okay? Just
Okay.
defer, we can.
by the way, Georgina,
Yes.
you responded on Tuesday, March 13th to the email you got from Walt about whether or not you could get more ceramic filters and such like.
Yeah.
That's what came up at the March 5th meeting, and you were talking about it again now.
Yeah.
And basically it says you're out of luck.
what do you mean? No, I'll call Pure
It
Ethics.
wasn't the whole story, I think. I mean, I think,
But
you know,
they,
nothing European was ever looked at, like. it's-
all they were saying on this is unfortunately they're a propriety. First, the only proprietary piece of equipment is the ceramic membrane and the integrated gasket around the membrane where it fits into the pressure vessel rather. The remainder of the equipment in the skid is not specialized and can be serviced without difficulty. For the
So it's just
membranes, they are
ceramic.
managed specifically by Purifics and as such are not available by a third party. The response from the vendor was, accordingly, we have never given this information out as our membrane lines are our own design. There are no backup replacement suppliers. So that is,
I don't think that was the full, I think that there was further information
Oh,
that
right.
there were other,
They're
there was
nearly
another
identical
company
to the-
willing to do it, but there's a patent issue with it.
yeah, they are nearly identical to the Paul Memblo units. However, the purifics won't divulge if they are interchangeable. Anyway, that was just,
Okay,
So we
that'll
need
be
to just be
correspondence.
bearing in mind with the procurement process, if
Is
this is a weakness of the system, then
Yeah.
what are the additional costs for getting it back up
yeah.
at the time of purchase?
Yeah,
Because if it does last for 20 years and having another one in storage, fine.
The last action item was review the FAQs and communications material and provide comments to committee clerk, so we're just sort of.
Oh,
These were there.
so that didn't happen.
Okay.
So you guys
All.
all,
So keep that as an action. Just making sure I cover everything here. Information. There was just on information, we did get the reminder again that if we get questions from the public, they're distributed to the committee, but not to respond. What is the process again? Restate
please
that?
don't respond, just the
Directly.
staff or chair can respond. But it is,
awesome.
yeah,
But I
talk to each other,
Exactly, so don't feel
please
free to
do,
just
yeah.
provide opinions on how you, whether it's staff response or my response. I usually refer to staff, but,
Yep.
so,
Is this an emailed
Yes.
query?
yeah, because
Yeah.
it gets distributed, they can contact the.
They're
Cove
encouraged to, in all the committees, they'll go to the committee webpage,
Yeah.
they can send an email to the committee, so then that's for the committee to consider. So you don't,
There's no
you
middle
guys
ground.
don't meet that often, but the ones that meet monthly, they would, it's a regular part of their meetings to consider that, and then someone would be assigned to it.
And the question we got that you sent to us
Yeah.
today was the one who was here, who was asking the same
Yeah.
question again.
And so Bob responded to her.
Good job, Bob.
She let us know.
Yeah.
Well, I just sent her all the reports, and she complained it was too much reading.
You said, I know.
Next,
I agree.
so that's it except for the next meeting. So what is our general schedule? Does anyone,
Well, they're
Is
supposed
there
to meet once a year, you guys,
I feel like we should meet more
More
frequently.
than that, so it's
up to
Especially
you.
as
Yeah.
we get closer to.
Grafton Lakelands,
Twice a year.
subdivision being planned and things like that?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
March?
maybe every, oh,
The spring one again?
I think we should go sooner, much sooner.
Well, the way I've tried to do it before is everybody on the committee submits things that they think should be on the next agenda, right? And then if staff has something that is a date that's coming up, that we will need information on this or we'll need information on that. But generally, when the chair sees that there's enough stuff on the agenda to have a meeting,
So
and,
don't
you
pick
know,
a, don't pick a date until it's.
yeah, and you might get to a point where you say, okay, we've got to deal with frequently asked questions. Everybody give me a few questions. And then bug everybody to do it. That sort of thing, and then
Okay.
that becomes.
So what I'll
an action.
suggest is,
That's
we're
why.
gonna schedule for March unless we get
Oh,
a
it
number
should be
of
before
items.
that.
yeah,
No,
so
but that
about
would be the
January,
back-
you're doing your update.
Yeah, I would say likely November or something like that.
Can we just schedule for November?
fine, let's pick a date, do it.
Because if things are going, then I would bring Walt over and go, and because I've seen his plans, he hasn't given them me, but I've seen his plans, the way he wants to lay out the building and that. And he's got his little cartoon sketch of the building, it's like, oh, yeah, that would work.
Make it before
No. I'm-
November 4th.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I'm gone by then.
Yeah, we won't have a council liaison then.
How does that happen?
Actually, there was, and
Or
I,
the election, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I think
Somebody else is.
It'll be okay.
it was mentioned that there would be no committee meetings in November. Kathy
Well,
mentioned that during a committee meeting that
Council
was.
liaison until the new year, I would presume.
Yeah, so it,
Well, it could be December. There's the inauguration on like the 4th of November, and then the first business meeting is the next week or 2 weeks thereafter. And so it'll depend on the mayor of the day and
Mhm.
how enthusiastic.
But December is challenging too, so usually end up
Yeah.
being January. So let's
I would think.
say the first 2 weeks of January, let's pick a date.
Bob wants to
Hopefully
meet
after
before
the
then.
19th. No, I'm gone the 19th of January.
Okay. I mean, I'm just picking a date now. we can always move it up if there is an
Yeah.
issue that needs some direction from the committee, okay?
Even if it's just an information meeting, you should have one. It'll be exciting to see something.
Yes, yes,
Wednesday, January 9th.
yes.
Oh,
Hold on a
I'll be
second
in Mexico.
here, just a moment.
I just got my flight today.
I've got
Philippines.
recreation like Wednesdays
The
at like
Philippines.
5 o'clock. I see
I love
you.
there.
Not Philadelphia?
So,
No, not Philadelphia.
let me
I go to
just-
Little
it's hard
Islands
to
in
know when
Rankin
January's
Boat.
ever with
Only one.
anybody, so
Yes.
I guess you're in
Hopefully
front of
outside
them.
food.
So you want, let me just see if it's the first or the second, I think.
So what are we thinking?
I think I got the
January
second
9th?
for them, okay,
think
that
so.
works.
January 9th, and that's our tentative date, let's call it that way.
That's
Okay.
right.
Tentative.
I will add that in my calendar.
I can send you a calendar.
Okay. We're adjourned, thanks everyone.
Oh, well, hey, it's been fun, guys.
He's bugging out. So you're not gonna run?
You going
No,
somewhere?
no, 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 no.
Oh, wait till the camera's off.
He is running.